Everyone, David here once again with the Dark Roaches deck for Eternal, the Eternal card game. We are changing up the list just a little bit today. Just did a little bit of adjusting, a little bit of tuning. We have cut the second copy of Temple Scribe and the third copy of Tock Tick for a fourth copy of Piercing Grief. Make sure that we have that little bit of life gain so that we don't run into the problem of dying to aggro quite as quickly as we saw was an issue in the last video. And one copy of Swear Vengeance. I've seen a few Dark Roaches lists running one or more Swear Vengeance. I thought I'd just give it a try. We'll see how nice it is to give Initiative of the Sands revenge if we have to, or to be able to just give a Clockroach revenge on its way to the graveyard, on its way to the void. Give our first Clockroach revenge, and then we can draw additional Clockroaches that way. Get them into play a little bit faster sometimes, and we'll see how that goes. But we'll just hop right into it. What is in store for us today? I've played a little bit off camera just to get a little bit better of a feel for what the meta looks like on the ladder right now. I've seen a few more variations on the Strangers deck that we saw in the last video. And I've played a couple of mirror matches, and I've seen a couple variants on the Armory deck that you might have seen in some of the other videos on my channel. Shameless plug. Got some videos with those. We are playing against Cheetar. We'll see how that goes for them. Kind of an interesting name. We have a Find the Way and the power to cast it, and we'll have a turn 4 Crown of Possibilities, which is a little slow, but I think we can keep this hand and see what happens. We might get rushed down. We could well, if our opponent is on an aggressive deck, we might well die before we get to set our engine up. They're on some kind of Shadow deck. Don't know a whole lot about their deck from just Shadow Sigil. Alright, Shadow Justice, Dark Wisp. So this is probably some variant of a revenge deck. We drew a Seat of Wisdom, which is nice because it'll let us play our Crown of Possibilities on turn 3 instead of on turn 4. We're still going to get a Primal Sigil though, because we want to have double Primal at some point. Our opponents starting on Dark Wisp means that we're not going to be dying too quickly, but they are kind of getting their situation set up relatively quickly. I'm just going to play Crown of Possibilities. Not too surprising there. Auric Sentry is a little bit odd of a card choice. This is not played in a whole lot of the top tier constructed decks, so our opponent might be on a budget, might be trying something new, or might just not know what's going on with their deck. That's also well within the realm of possibility. I just want to spend 4 power this turn, so I'll play my undepleted Sigil, Find the Way, get another Primal Sigil, and play my Piercing Grief. It's unblockable, which is nice, means that it will get the hit in, won't be blocked by their Endurance Auric Sentry. So that's nice. I'm getting a little bit of early damage, heal up a little bit, and get our Destiny going. Crown of Possibilities works really nicely with Piercing Grief, as we've seen in past videos. Pretty excited about that interaction. We also have Ancient Lore next turn, so we can start digging for that Destiny card in the top 10 cards of our deck. Alright, our opponent has played a Puma with Lifesteal, which indicates that they're probably a little bit power flooded, because this is a transmute. This is the result of a transmute card. So, and if they had other stuff to do with their 5 power, they probably would have played that instead. No, we drew a Clockroach and it gained Lifesteal, which is nice. It'll It'll help us kind of stem the tide of this aggression. Ancient Lore also gives it +1/+1, which is nice. So we get to start off our Clockroaches on 3/3. Crownwatch Paladin is a strong 2-drop. Our opponent's really starting to set up their go wide strategy, their many units strategy. I think I want to Twinning Ritual a Clockroach first. I expect to play Twinning Ritual and Clockroach and a depleted power this turn, but depending on what ability I get off my Clockroach, I might do something different. Got Quick Draw. I think it's fine to just play a littler Clockroach and plan to trade with either Crownwatch Paladin or the Lifesteal Puma as the case arises. Our opponent is most likely looking to find removal spells or relic weapons if they have them. They might be hoping to find a legendary unit in their deck. Right, we drew another Ancient Lore. I just want to play multiple Clockroaches this turn, so that's what I'm going to do. I want to make sure that I have Lifesteal available to me when they attack so that I'm not dead. We're starting to be pretty close to dead. We do have multiple Clockroaches with Lifesteal, so as long as we survive this turn, I'm not too worried, but they could certainly have multiple removal spells, and we could be dead. So we'll see how that goes for us. Alright, just attacking with everybody. Not attacking with the Dark Wisp. That's interesting. They usually want Dark Wisp to die, so I'm not too worried about my opponent's life total. I would rather just stop their Warcry train if I can. So I'm going to block the Crownwatch Paladin, which is a larger Warcry minion, or Warcry unit. We drew Piercing Grief and it gained Killer, which is nice. It means that we can just play this and kill the Puma right off the bat, and it will also, and it'll still do the whole Destiny thing. We can gain some value out of our Crown of Possibilities that way. We can just Twinning Ritual this Clockroach, play a Clockroach. Our Clockroaches didn't gain charge, so I'm just going to play the smaller one this turn. Keep developing our power. And I think I'd still rather be able to block if they have removal for our big Clockroach. So I'm going to not attack with this 4/4, even though it could attack relatively freely. It would just gain us 4 life and not do any damage to our opponent. And then it would be unavailable to block, and I think blocking might be important here. The opponent says thanks for the game and scoops it up. So we won the game. So our opponent was unable to break through our giant wall of Lifesteal Clockroaches, which is pretty great. Lifesteal is such a nice ability to hit on your Clockroach. Oh look, I get a free pack for my first versus win of the day. And we'll jump right back into the queue. Feeling good about this today. Our deck's treating us well. Drawing 2 Piercing Griefs in the last game was really nice. We were able to gain a little bit of a life cushion, so we weren't dead on a crucial turn, and we were able to draw a second one later, which I think was really valuable. So so far I'm happy with the extra Piercing Grief. We'll see if we continue to draw extra Piercing Griefs. This hand has an Initiative of the Sands, but it doesn't really have any action, so we're going to redraw it. Opponent has Outlands Sniper as their avatar. We'll see if they're on an aggressive deck. But we're just going to start with Seat of Wisdom, Initiative of the Sands. We drew a great mulligan. We can play Initiative of the Sands into Initiative of the Sands plus Static Bolt, because we'll have 3 power available to us next turn, and then the following turn we can play Nesting Avisaur, assuming that our Initiates of the Sands all live. We drew a Tock Tick. Not the worst, not the best. We don't want to play this Static Bolt this turn. Our opponent didn't play anything, so we're not going to just Static Bolt their face. We want to use this as removal. That's why it's in our deck. We drew a Piercing Grief, but we have no Shadow influence, which is mildly unfortunate. Our opponent is on Felm, which is most likely a control deck or a Gorgon Fanatic based deck. It's an infiltrate based deck that runs Haunting Scream to play their strong infiltrate units over and over again, but I think we're just going to want a static bolt that deals 3 damage. So I'm going to choose not to draw towards additional influence for 1 additional turn. Our opponent's killing an Initiative of the Sands. Mildly unfortunate, but ultimately fine. Not super concerned about it. We'll just get in with our flyer and pass. I probably won't block with this Initiative of the Sands, but but that's because I don't want to trade it for their 2/1 that doesn't do anything right now. And so I wasn't attacking last turn because they could block, and I won't be blocking with it this turn. But if they attack and do nothing else, I might attack with it. Opponent is playing a deranged Dinomancer. I'm just going to transform units into 5/5 Carnosaurs. I'm not particularly fond of that. I'm just going to static bolt it. We drew a second static bolt, which is a nice draw. Means we can play a static bolt for 2 power and hold our 0 power, or our 0 cost static bolt. Our opponent is not on the infiltrate-based deck that I thought they were on, so I'm interested to see what exactly they're doing, because I'm not quite sure. Most control lists don't play Amethyst Acolyte, and most control lists don't play Deranged Dinomancer. So I'm not quite sure what our opponent's doing. They're playing Blackguard Sidearm. This is going to push their 4/2 through. I'm going to push their unit through, but I will get to static bolt them and gain some card advantage in that way. I'll be trading my 1 static bolt for their equipment and for their weapon and their Amethyst Acolyte. I'm just going to get in with this Initiative of the Sands. They're not holding up removal. The removal that cares about attacking units costs 2, so safely get in there. I'm just going to second sight right now because I want to hit a power drop this turn if I can. Our opponent is tanking, deciding whether to let us do our thing. We did draw a power source and a Nesting Avisaur. We're just going to put Piercing Grief on top of our deck. It doesn't really matter what we put on top of our deck there, so we'll just do that and pass the turn. Unfortunately, their Left-Right Ranger is going to get to hit us if I don't block with Initiative of the Sands. I might block with Initiative of the Sands. We don't have anything in our deck that costs more than 4 mana, that costs more than 4. So I can afford to go from 5 down to 4. It's not a super big deal. You know, I think I will. I think I will do that because I'll be able to play the Nesting Avisaur next turn. I could even Twinning Ritual and make a Nesting Avisaur and play that Nesting Avisaur and skip putting it on top of my deck. I think I'm just going to play Nesting Avisaur and skip putting anything on top of my deck because I want to be drawing towards either Shadow Influence or Clockroach. Our opponent has Death Strike, which is really unfortunate for us. It means that we're falling behind in this game pretty quickly. But it also makes me pretty happy I didn't put anything on top of my deck with the Nesting Avisaur, because we really do need to be drawing towards something valuable. We haven't hit it yet, so our opponent's going to hit us for 6 down to 11 this turn. They have a Gorgon Swiftblade, so they're piling on the damage. Need to draw something here, or we're going to lose. Our opponent's going to deal 8 to us this turn, and then we'll probably be dead. Twilight Raptor flies, and so we're almost certainly dead here. This thing has Deadly and Quick Draw now, which means we're just dead. We didn't draw any Shadow Sources, and we didn't draw any Clockroaches. Perhaps I shouldn't have put the Static Bolts on top of our deck with the Nesting Avisaur early in the game. That probably cost us that game. So we're looking to do a little more. Looking to do a little better in the next game. Let's see what we're up against. The Skycrag clans are a loose group and are not united under a single leader. Interesting. You get little tidbits of lore as you're queuing up for games in Eternal, which is kind of nice. Gives you a little something to do to pass the time. We don't have enough power to keep that hand. We're just mulliganing. We have a Clockroach in our Initiative of the Sands in our mulligan. We have a second sight to generate additional Clockroaches if we are interested in doing that. We're really looking to draw Time Influence and maybe Shadow Influence as well. Our opponent's on a Time deck, so maybe this will be the mirror. Maybe it'll be a Sandstorm Titan deck. Sandstorm Titan is a very common time play. I think I just want to play a turn 2 Clockroach here. That sounds good to me. Our opponent is on Zanan of some type. They could be playing a Copper Conduit Dark Return deck. That's a very common situation. They're actually playing our 3 colors, so maybe it is even the mirror. Play this Primal Sigil here, and I think we're just going to Ancient Lore this turn. I don't need to second sight yet. We found a Crown of Possibilities, which is really nice. I'm just going to attack with Clockroach here. As I mentioned earlier, the removal that cares about attacking units costs 2, and so I don't want to put my Initiative of the Sands in danger of dying to that. Our opponent has done nothing. We're just going to play Crown of Possibilities and another Initiative of the Sands, and we're going to attack with both of these units. I can afford to put the Initiative of the Sands into danger now because we have a backup, and because we're just starting to develop our situation anyway. We have a Crown, and we're going to second sight, put a Clockroach on top pretty soon. Now we're looking to develop a source of Shadow Influence. So that's what we're primarily looking for. Our opponent missed their power drop and still hasn't done anything. So we're just going to second sight right now, make sure that they don't draw anything relevant to us, and see what happens. We've got a Piercing Grief with Echo. I want to generate as many Clockroaches as possible, and so I'm going to put the Clockroaches on top of my deck, even though I could instead play Twinning Ritual this turn. And I'm going to lose this power as a result, but I think value is going to be really important in this game. So we drew Clockroaches and they gained double damage. We're just going to Static Bolt this guy because this thing can spiral out of control pretty quickly. We're going to attack with these Clockroaches, and we're going to play one of these double damage Clockroaches. Oh, our opponent scooped it up. Okay, well, that's 3 more games. I think we can play a 4th one in this video. We can afford to do that. Ooh, we got a silver chest out of our red chest, and we got a gold chest out of our silver chest. Super nice. A free pack that way. We'll run in through one more game before we end this video. And I'm feeling pretty good about the Clockroaches today. They're running well. Our Piercing Griefs were really valuable in the first game. In our second game, and our third game actually, we missed our Shadow sources early, which is unfortunate. Maybe with all the Piercing Griefs in the deck, we'll need to adjust our influence situation a little bit. Maybe put in a couple of Shadow source banners. But for the time being, we'll just keep playing it as it is. It hasn't been too bad. We won 2 of our 3 games so far. Our opponent's on Sky Crag, which is usually an aggressive sort of tempo deck. Wants to get in damage early and close out the game with burn. But our opponent hasn't done anything for 2 turns, so maybe they're playing a Sky Crag deck that isn't on that strategy. Not quite sure what else they could be doing. They could be playing Armory with the Primal Splash. I have seen a little bit of that going around. Our hand is not developing super well. We've drawn a lot of Shadow cards. I'm thinking maybe we do have to change our influence requirements to make sure that we can hit that Shadow early. Maybe in the next video we'll try out the mostly Time Shadow, the mostly Zanan version of the deck that is only splashing the Primal Influence. We get to find the way and find our Shadow source here, which is nice. I think we're just going to play the depleted Shadow source and get the Piercing Grief off and try to get that going. Put some Destiny in our deck. I'm fine with Torch. This is great for our Piercing Grief to eat a piece of removal that might otherwise be pointed at a valuable Clockroach. Oh, we drew a Clockroach. That's really nice. We get to play Find the Way. And if our opponent lets it resolve, okay, and we get to find a Time Sigil, and we can just play a Time Sigil and one of these Clockroaches. And we'll be looking to Twinning Ritual and Dark Return in the coming turns. Our opponent has another Torch. A handful of removal makes sense. We haven't really presented them with very many threats, and that might well be why they haven't been doing anything. We'll just Twinning Ritual our Clockroach. We get double damage on it this time, in addition to unblockable, which is nice. We're going to play the smaller Clockroach. Actually, you know what? I kind of want the bigger Clockroaches to die because I want to Dark Return these ones when I can. And I'm going to play the Tock Tick just to try to get some pressure on our opponent and make sure that they don't have infinite time to set up their power situation. Because that's why we're winning the game right now, is that they're just behind us a lot on power. But it looks like we're just winning the game outright pretty quickly, as we get in for 11 this turn. We'll get in for more than that next turn. I think it's correct to just play out my entire hand and make our opponent deal with what we've got, because it's really ridiculous, honestly. And that's it. We've won the game. Alrighty, guys. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. By all means, keep coming back for more. I'll keep making videos on this channel and be following up with the Clockroaches stuff soon. Let me know in the comments below if you do want to see other takes on the Clockroach deck, or if you want to make suggestions about card choices or tuning that you think you might want to see. Outside of that, I think I'll be signing off here. So I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.